Konnichiwa. Hi, I'm Chaplain Mark Johnston, the 38th ADA Brigade Chaplain, coming to you today from Mizono Sato Village, here close to the dam where we were filming the other day, and the name that I forgot then. But we're glad to be with you today as we continue a series of resiliency talks. And this period of time that we're in with all this pandemic and all the other things going on have really made me think a lot about what's going on in the United States, what's going on in families, what's going on all over the place. And people, you know, there's some kind of people that they've always got to be right. And as I get closer and older and closer to death and older, and knowing that all of us are going to die, I think of a story that I heard one time of this new preacher in town. He was from the city, and he was called to this little Baptist church out in the countryside. And they wanted him to go out and do a funeral, and he didn't know where he was going. If it's like most people give directions in the country, it's go out to where Old Man Jones' barn used to be before it burned down. Like, I'm going to know where that is. But he was driving around trying to find the place, and finally they told him there wouldn't be anybody there except the workers, because this person didn't have any family, just wanted to do something nice for him. So he drove around till he saw these two guys sitting by a pile of dirt, and he went over and looked in the hole, and there it was. That must have been the grave. There was the top of the vault right there. So he did the service, and he spoke to the two men that had dug it, and then he went and got back in his car and left. And one of the men said, you know, that was, he must have been mighty young. That was a kind of a service a young preacher would have done. He said, yes, but you have to admit, it was the best service I've ever seen for a septic tank. So we're all going to be in that place one day, and we wonder what people are going to say about us when we're gone. And I'm concerned that right now we're in such a state in our country where we're willing to alienate anybody over our beliefs. We'll push our friends aside, we'll push our neighbors aside, we'll push our family aside, and my fear is we're even pushing our fellow countrymen aside. There was a guy used to be, his name was Tom. He was on Tommy. He was on the show Click and Clack on National Public Radio. He and his brother did a show, and Tommy had been married about 4 or 5 times, and he decided that he had a choice. He could be right, or he could be happy, and he chose to be happy in his last marriage. And some of us, though, are so bound and determined to be right that we're dividing this country, and we're dividing ourselves from everybody around us. And I fear for my country because of it. There was a man, he's still around, he's a famous musician. His name is Daryl Davis. Daryl is a African-American pianist. He plays the piano, and he's friends with people like Jerry Lee Lewis, some really famous guys he's played with. And he was in a bar in Maryland, and he would play any kind of music. He didn't care. The genre didn't matter to him. He was playing at a country show, and when he finished playing the piano, an older white man came up to him and said, man, I've never seen a black man that could play the piano like Jerry Lee Lewis. And he spoke to him and said, well, Jerry Lee Lewis is a friend of mine, and he learned from the same boogie-woogie players that were in New Orleans. The black players, he learned just like I did. And the man didn't believe him at first. And he said, well, why don't you let me have a drink with you? So they sat down to have a drink, and the white man began talking. He said, you know, I've never had a drink with a black man before. He said, well, that seems strange to me. As they began to talk, the man began to open up a little bit and told Daryl that he was actually a member of the Klan. And as they began to talk, and they talked more and more, and they spent a little time getting to know each other, at one point the white man actually invited Daryl over to his house. We came over to his house, and they spent time together and became friends. He even left the Klan and gave Daryl his robe and his hood. And Daryl actually had several from white men who have given up their hatred and their ignorance because of the friendship that Daryl showed to them. I think that if we really want to make some changes in our country, and we really want some changes in our own life, if we want to be such a person that when we die we realize that we made something positive in the world, we're going to have to learn to be more like Daryl. Spend some time in friendship and talking to somebody rather than placing labels on people and deciding we already know what they think. I'm genuinely worried for our country. As we come up on this election and we divide ourselves from each other, maybe you can be the person that reaches out to another person in friendship, and we can draw ourselves together. We can begin to be the people that we were meant to be. Yoi ichinichio. Have a nice day. Well, we're coming to you today from the surface of the sun. Wow, it's hot. But I need to close my eyes. It's so bright. No, I think it's the cloud.
Okay.
Yes, here we go.
I really am worried about our country because we can't seem to give up some of our feelings on things. And if the question is, why can we all just get along? The answer is no, we can't.